And I will turn the time over to Lise.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see some of your faces. Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy that all of you are here. If you want to turn your camera on, feel free, but no worries if you don't. Just a little bit about me before we begin. My name is Lise. Hi, hello, everyone. I am joining you from Austin, Texas. I am a beadwork artist. And hello, it's so nice to see all your faces. So what I do is I love to work with tiny glass beads, which is what we're doing today. And I love to make jewelry. I love to make sculpture, portraits. I have one of my sculptures right here to show you. This is a beaded shoe that I made a couple years ago, and it's all made out of beads. So you can see the magic of beads and what they're able to accomplish, and that's why I love beadwork so much. So I hope that today that I can introduce you and share my love of beads with you, and we can start this journey together. Okay, so a few things. Number one, I want to say thank you to Michaels for having me. It's such an honor to be here. I'm so happy to be able to share with you. Also, there will be a replay after this class. So if at any point if you're beading along with me today, if at any point you're confused, you missed something, you want to watch it again, there is going to be a replay and you can watch it on Monday. It will be posted on the Michaels website and on the Michaels YouTube channel. So that's there for you forever. Also, if you have questions, I have my lovely assistant, Abby, who will be on the chat answering questions. And also my other lovely assistant, Maddie, who will be bringing questions up to me through audio so I can answer them live. So just plug them into the chat anytime you have a question, and then we'll get them answered as best as we can. Now, we only have an hour today, so I'm going to try to stick to 1 hour. I'll do my best. Yeah, I guess that's everything. We can now get started. But a little bit before we get started, let's take a look at the necklace that we're making. So we are making the sun snake necklace today. I'm wearing a version of it today. It is a beautiful, beautiful necklace. Maddie, if we can go to the overhead camera for a second here. Thank you. So this is the exact necklace that we're going to be working with today. We are going to be using a size 8 beads, but this is what it looks like with size 11 beads. So you can actually use different size of beads today. For beginners, I do recommend that you get the size 8 beads. So before we get into the technique, actually, can we go up to the front-facing camera again, please? Thank you. And so before we get into the technique, I want to tell you a little bit about how the class is going to go. So I'm going to go through materials. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I want to share all about what color means to me. I'm super passionate about color and the power that color can give a beautiful object like this. I want to tell you a little bit about design and then share my artistic process with you, because I do believe that is so important. So first, let's go through our materials. So as I'm talking about the materials, I'd love for you to start, if you are beading with me live, start getting out all your materials, start pouring out your beads, and start unwrapping all of your materials as we go. All right, we will switch to the overhead camera now. And all right, let me just see here. Okay, so this is our first material. This is called a beading mat. And let me show you the exact one that you can get. You can find this online or at the Michaels store. And this is the Beadalon Bead Mat. It comes in a pack of 2. And they are wonderful. They're like the perfect size. They're super soft, and they've got a little bit of thickness too, so you can pour your beads on and they won't slide around, which is great. Next, you'll need a pair of sharp scissors. I have these, but if you don't have a really sharp pair of pointed scissors, run to your bathroom and grab some nail clippers. They will work really well for the type of thread that we're using today. Next, the Beadalon Big Eye Beading Needle. This is such a cool needle. If you've never done beadwork before, this is a game changer, and this is why. So this needle is pointy on both ends, but it has this beautiful eye, like it's probably an inch wide like this. So if you have troubles with your eyesight, or if you have trouble threading a regular needle, this is awesome. It goes by so fast and it's really easy to thread. Okay, next we've got our BEADSMITH FIRELINE. And this is a special thread that is similar to, I would say it's similar to fishing line. It's really, really strong. The type that you want is the 6-pound weight. And you'll want it in the crystal color. Today, I'm actually going to use the black one. The crystal color is kind of white. I'm going to use the black one, but only because it shows up better on camera. The project, really, you want to use this so that you won't see your thread. All right, so you will also need a pair of pliers. This one is a flat nose and a round nose. And you'll need some findings. So these are, this is a pack I found at Michael's called the Barrel and Lobster Clasps. And this is a great pack because not only does it come with it comes with everything you need. So it comes with the clasp and the jump ring. You can see them in there, and there's all types of clasps. I'm going to be using the lobster clasp today because I think that looks really pretty. And let's see, the last and most important material are your beads. So when you go to the store, you will kind of you'll see a beautiful rainbow of beads on one of the aisles. And this is the type of bead that we're using today. They'll come in these tubes. We're using size 8 today. So anything with an 8/0. One of my beads is a bit bigger, this yellow one. I'm using a size 6, and that was just a stylistic choice because I felt like for this sun snake necklace, I wanted the yellow to really be a statement. Oh, there's a little heart. That's really sweet. So in terms of like, why have I called this the sun snake necklace? It's because it really does act like a snake. It coils and it has just such a beautiful texture and movement. And that's what I love about this piece. All right, let's get into talking about colors. This is one of my favorite parts. So colors, I have studied color a lot. I've gotten into color therapy, the chakra system, and my personal experiences with color and healing. And I will be sharing some of the more generic meaning, like significances of color, but you may have your own attachments to color. For instance, if someone that you love, let's say your grandmother wore the color green all of the time, and that color just always reminds you of her, then you might want to use green in this piece to really honor her or honor her memory, or give this as a gift to someone who you really love. But today we're going to be talking about color in a more generic way, but it's going to give you some guidance on why I chose these colors. So first, let's talk about pink. And as I'm doing this, I encourage you to open up your bottles of beads and start pouring them down. I'm going to start with pink. So pink, it's the color of the heart chakra. It is the color of love and compassion, and mostly it's self-love. So if you want to bring that into your life, I highly recommend using pink. This is a teal. I consider it a green, and green reminds us of nature. It reminds us of growth and balance. It's also attached to the heart chakra. So we've got 2 heart chakra colors. So if you want to bring a lot of growth and balance into your life, green is an amazing color to use. Yellow is attached to the solar plexus, so that's right above our stomach. It's the color of joy. It reminds us of the sun. It's bright, it's creative. If you want to really show and shine your true personality, yellow is something that's really great to add. Blue is the color of water, and it's attached to the throat chakra. And so the throat chakra really encourages us to speak our truth. So if you want to introduce a lot of healing and wisdom and speaking your truth, blue is a really great way, a really great color to add to your piece. And then black and white are really, really excellent as balancers. I love the symbolism behind these two shades because one is like the feminine, the masculine, the light, the dark, life and death. They're just so beautiful. And they really bring a lot of balance into our really, really, really colorful necklace. So I'm going to pour out some of these. We're going to just start with blue and white for now, but you can pour out all of your colors if you like. And then just as an FYI, you can make this exact necklace if you like. You can just follow the pattern that is on the Michael's website, or you'll find the picture, and through the picture, you'll be able to copy this exact pattern. We're going to be going a little bit in a different direction because I want you to be able to see the contrasting colors. So we're just going to start with blue and white for now, and then we're going to build up from that. So I'm going to be doing this in a couple of different stages. I'm going to show you the technique. I'm going to then jump a little forward. Beadwork takes a long, long time, so we won't be able to make the entire necklace today. So I am going to jump forward because I need to teach you how to add more thread and put your clasp and your jump ring on. So before we begin, if we could go to the front facing camera, please. All right. So a little bit about my artistic process, which I really want to share with you. So I always like to have an intention before I go into creating. And that's one of the funnest parts about this, is that when we put intention into something, it really becomes that much more special. So today, what my intention and what I hope our intention today can be is to enjoy. I want us to enjoy this process, enjoy this time together, and really have some fun. So that's how we're going to go into it. And, you know, if at any point you feel frustrated or maybe you've missed something, have compassion with yourself. Just take a little break. You can always watch this afterwards and catch up. All right, so let's get started with technique. Maddie, do we have any questions before I begin?
No questions right now.
Wonderful. Okay, so for those of you that are beading with me, let's stick with this front-facing camera for now, because I want to show you how to cut your thread. So grab your spool of thread. We're going to hold our thread with one hand and extend the thread out to our opposite shoulder. And that is where you want to cut. So the thread length is really personal, and it's because the length of your arm determines how far you can pull, right? So it's going to be different for everyone. If you have longer arms, you're going to be able to pull a lot longer. So that's how I measure my thread. That's how long it should be. All right, so now that we have our thread cut, Maddie, let's go to the overhead camera, please. All right, perfect. So we are going to thread our needle. And like I said, the hardest part of this is just getting that eye open, but just get the eye needle open. Pass your thread through the needle by a couple inches, maybe 5 or so inches, like that. And then tug a little bit so that it's locked in there. And then you're ready to go. And it's really locked in there. Like if I pull on either side, that is not going anywhere. All right, so Now that we're done with that step, we're going to create the foundation of our bead necklace. So we're going to start with these beautiful white beads. We're going to pick up 1 bead and 2 beads. Okay, and now we're going to hold on to them with our index and thumb, and we're going to take them not all the way down. We're going to actually leave a tail of about 7 inches. You've got to leave a pretty long tail because that's what we're going to use to attach our clasp. So we want enough room there. So about 7 inches on the tail. This will be our tail going forward, and this I will call the working thread. So tail is here, working thread is the needle thread. All right, and the way that I like to do my hand placement, it's very important so that your beadwork doesn't just go everywhere, is I've got my beads right here between my thumb and index finger, and then the tail, so it doesn't get all tangled, I just wrap my 3 fingers around it and hold on to it. That way I've got a really stable foundation moving forward. Nothing is going to move around. That tail isn't going to get, tangled, hopefully. All right, so once we've got our hand placement, we are going to take our needle. Let me do a little bit of a zoom here. Let me see if I can do a zoom. All right, so we're going to take our needle and we're gonna, this is where our thread came out of. We're gonna go back up through that first bead that we put on. Like this. All right, and we're gonna pull out. If this is your first time beading, you will start to learn that tension is a very important thing. So what tension means is how tight you're pulling your thread. So if you've got too loose of a tension, your bead is gonna be loose. If you've got too tight of a tension, your beads can start doing weird things. They can start moving into places where you don't want them. So you kind of just want to be confident with pulling, but not aggressive. All right, so now you should have your tail thread coming out through 1 bead and your working thread coming up the opposite side. Now we're going to take our needle and go down through that next bead to the right. Like so. And we should have something that looks like this. All right, so we're going to add 1 more bead. So grab your needle, take up 1 more bead, and come back down through that bead that's right next to the last one we came out from. Like this. And we pass our needle all the way through and pull. And now we've got 3 on there. Both of our threads are coming out from the bottom right now. We're going to fix that in a second, but you should have them lining up like that. If they're not lining up like that, just play around with them a little. Try your tension. It might be your tension that is kind of messing it up, but let's play around with them. They will cooperate. You just got to move them around. And then as a final little step here, we're going to go up that last bead here like this. All right, so now we've got a row of 3. And we're going to add just 1 more before we go to the next step. So pick up 1 bead with your needle, come up through that last bead like this, and send your needle through and come up. So this is our foundation row. Oh, and I missed a little step. We're going to have to go back down this way, like this, just down through that last bead here. Okay, so right now this should look a little straight. Mine's not super straight, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. It will still work. My tail thread that I was holding on to is coming out of the bottom of our work. Same with our working thread. It's coming out of the bottom like this. Do we have any questions, Maddie, before we continue with the next step?
Yes, we had a couple of questions in chat and a little bit of a discussion. People are trying to identify the names of the stitches that you're using. We have the name a herringbone rope, and then also are you using a ladder stitch?
Those are excellent questions, and I wish I had the answer to the technical name. This is something that I learned a while ago, and I don't remember what the stitch is called, but I will try to find out, and maybe we can somehow find out, but I'm actually not sure what this stitch is called.
That's quite all right. I really like that our chat is using each other as great resources and we're learning together.
Thank you all for your help on that. Do we have any more questions?
I think that's all for now.
All right, so let's keep on going and hopefully we can solve this mystery together. All right, so so how is this going to turn into a necklace? I'm going to show you one that I've been working on. So this one, as you can see here, you can see there's 4 beads there. So we've got to kind of connect them into a circle, and that's going to be our next step, is making them into a circle. So we've got our hand placement, we've got our row of beads. What we're going to do is we're going to take both strings and we're going to kind of bring the strings together just like this, so that our beads kind of come together into kind of a square. Does that make sense? Like that. And then we have to unite them. It's going to be this might be a little tricky for some beginners, but I promise you will get it in a minute. It's kind of hard to hold on to at first. So we're going to try and put our tail to the side like this, holding on to it over here. And then we're going to put our needle. This is where our working thread is coming out of. We're going to put our needle through that next bead to the right. Like this, and pull, and it's going to kind of unite it, but we need one more stitch to really bring that together. See how they're coming kind of together? We're going to go backwards and down through the previous bead. And pull. And then just to really reinforce it, just one extra one going back up the bead to the right. And pull up. And so now what we have is a little square like this. We've got our tail thread coming out of one end. We've got our working thread coming out the same bead on the opposite side. See that? And now we've got our foundation row. So this is probably one of the hardest parts of this whole process. And so if you've gotten this far, you're doing good. Let's move on to building a new foundational row. So we're going to switch colors. I highly recommend, if you're doing this for the first time, to switch colors, because you'll really be able to see how we build. So I'm going to pick up 2 blue beads. From now on, we'll always be picking up 2 beads. So we're going to take our needle and put it through. This is where our working thread is coming out of. So we're going to go jump 1 bead to the right and put our needle down into that next bead. And pull. Remember your tension. So my tension is too loose here. I'm going to kind of pull it a little, and then they're going to lie down nice and tight like that. Then, once we've got those 2 blue beads, you'll notice that there's 2 white beads that are now missing blue beads. So we have to get over to that side to be able to add beads. And when we add beads, we always want our thread to be coming out of the top. This is now the top, this is the bottom. So we're gonna send our working thread up through that next white bead to the right. Pull. Now we're ready. We rotate our work slightly to the right. We're still holding on to our tail thread and keeping our hand position really firm and strong so that our work doesn't go everywhere. We're going to pick up 2 more beads and we're going to send our needle down through the next, miss the bead, next bead to the right. All right, so I'm going to pull. And we've now added a new foundational row. But remember, our thread is coming out of the bottom and we always want it to be coming out of the top, right? So I'm going to send my needle back up through the next row, both through the white foundational row and the new blue foundational row. All right, so I'm coming back up. And we've added a new row. So let me show you a little bit about what this looks like. So the bottom row is nice and secure. The blue row wants to kind of come apart. And that's just the nature of this. Every top row will kind of be wanting to come apart. But we're going to secure that in just a second. Every next row will secure your beads. So let's continue. Actually, do we have any questions before I continue?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're going to continue. We're going to pick up 2 white beads. So we're going to pick up 2 white beads. This is our new, the blue row is now our new foundational row. So I'm going to pull a little bit just to make sure my tension is right. I'm going to put my bead down just, oops, I think I have to pull a little harder because my beads are kind of coming apart here. All right, so we are going to put our needle down through just the top blue bead, just the top one, not through the white row. And we're going to pull. And those beads should sit nicely. So they didn't sit super nicely, so I'm just going to put my nail in there, have them move around, and that's pretty good. Now we're going to move our piece around, and our working thread is now coming out between this blue bead and this white bead. So we want to send it up through just the blue bead, so then we can add more beads. So we're sending it up, pulling, making sure we're checking our tension always, rotating our work, picking up 2 white beads because we're creating a new row, and putting our needle through just that blue bead. And pulling the thread. And I love this part when the beads just like boop, just sit down on that row. It just, I feel like that's such a good feeling. All right, so we've got a new foundational row, but we need to kind of seal that in because it's still trying to come apart. I'm sure this is happening to you as well. So we're going to rotate our work, go up the blue and the white bead, and that seals that blue row. And now you can see if I open it up, that blue row is now nice and sealed. The white row is now kind of loose. And that's just how the top row will always be. But you can see here that our tail thread is coming out of this bottom part, and our working thread is coming out of the same row towards the top. And that's where your work should be at this point. Let's keep going with a couple more rows so we can practice before I teach you how to add and take off thread or an end thread and add your clasps. So let's keep going. We've got 2 blue beads. We're going to add another foundational row, go down through the next white bead to the right of where we came out from. Check your tension. Rotate your work. Go up through only the white bead. Only the white bead. Pull. Rotate. Pick up 2 more beads. Then put your needle down through the next white bead. Pull. And then to finalize that row, we're going to come up through the white and blue beads. Like that. So that's starting to look really, really good. So as you can see, beadwork does take some time, but it is really meditative and such a nice way to spend time. Just spend time with yourself. You can watch TV while you do this. I love doing that. Yeah. So let's do one more row before we move on to adding more thread, because you will need to add more thread. So what I did there was pick up 2 beads. I went in through just the blue bead there. I'm pulling tight. Then I'm rotating my work, putting my needle up through just the one blue top bead, pulling up, grabbing 2 more beads on my needle, coming down through that next blue bead, only the top row, pulling my thread, and then finishing it by coming up through the 2 beads here. All right, so this is starting to look like something now. And eventually it will look a little more like this. So this one I made earlier, and this is about how much, for my arm's length, this is about how much length you will get from that amount of thread. And you can see it's like, it's already starting to act like a snake. I can pull it in and out. We are going to now learn what happens, like, okay, here, let me get this out of the way. Let me get some of these beads out of the way too, so we can really see what's happening here. So we're at this stage where this is our tail thread, this is our working thread. It's getting uncomfortable to pick up more beads because we don't have enough thread left. So I usually leave about, I always kind of leave 6 or 7 inches to work with before, and at that point you want to start ending your thread. So actually I'm going to work on this side. This is the right side to work on. So let me rethread this needle real quick. All right, so first I want to end the thread. So let's do that first. So here you can see it's opening up just like our previous work did. And we want to, instead of going to the right like we were doing before, we want to go back towards the left. So we're going to go back and put our needle. Our working thread is coming out of here, and we're just putting our needle through the one top white bead like this. We're not picking up any beads at this point. We're just working with the thread. We're trying to basically build the little bridges to connect all of these together. So we've built one little bridge there. And now we're going to go forward to reinforce that little bridge on the top and the bottom. Our thread is now coming out of the top. This time we will rotate our work to the right. We're going to go down that next bead. And this side already had a bridge, so we don't need to do anything there. We need to create a bridge right here. So our thread is coming out from underneath this white bead. So we want to go to the next bead, into it and out through the top. Like that. And then to just finish it and make that bridge there, we're going to go down to the next bead to the left. Like that. So that closes it up, and now we're ready to tie a knot and cut our string off. So how do we tie a knot in here and have it hide inside our work so it looks like, you know, it's just a continuous snake? So what we want to do is kind of open our work up a little. You can kind of see the working threads in there. I like to call them the little skeleton threads. Can you see them in there? I've put my needle through a couple of the threads in there. Let me try and get a little clearer. So there will be some threads. You'll want to put your needle under those threads, catch them with your needle, pull, but don't pull all the way. Just pull until you see a nice little loop. So we see a loop there, like that. And we're going to put our needle through twice. So one time, pull a little bit, and 2 times. And then we're going to pull that knot. And as we pull, the knot is going to travel down. And if your knot didn't travel down far enough, no worries. You can take your set of pliers, pull on the thread a little bit, and that should hide it. And then we don't want to cut our thread right next to that knot. So we're just going to stick our needle through a couple more beads right next to the knot, pull through, check your tension. And then at this point, we can safely cut our thread. And you're going to see that that knot is practically invisible. Even with the black thread, you can't even see that. And that's pretty magical. So now that we've ended our thread, we want to add more, right? So we're going to grab another piece of thread. So I've already pre-cut one. I'm going to thread my needle. This needle is being a little bit stubborn. All right, here we go. So we're going to thread our needle, and we're going to start off almost in the exact same way that we did that. We're going to first tie a knot in the skeleton of our work. So I'm just going to choose kind of a random place, a few rows down. I kind of like to start in the same row that my original thread came out of, but it's actually not a big deal. You can start anywhere. So I'm going to pick a row, and I'm going to again try to spread those beads apart a little and grab at least 1 or 2 skeleton threads that are between those beads. And I'm going to pull my needle through. This time we won't have that loop that is helping us. We'll just have a new tail here. So we just want to basically tie a simple knot using this thread. So we're going to do a little overhand knot like this. Just one simple over, pull tight. And you are going to want to leave a little bit of a tail because we want to tuck that in. We want to hide that. And we're going to do that one more time just to reinforce that knot. Pull. And then our needle is still threaded onto that knot, right? So we're going to pass our needle in through those beads and come out of the top. And not only is our knot hidden, but we now have a lot of extra thread to keep going. But what do we do with this extra tail? So that's super easy. You just thread your needle, take off your needle from your other side of your work, rethread that needle, or rethread that thread, and then pass your needle through a couple rows of beads. And you're now ready to clip it off. So all of that, all of those knots are always going to be hidden. This thread, sometimes you have to pull, just so you know, sometimes you have to pull a little bit for it to really cut. My scissors are also not as sharp as they normally seem today for some reason. There we go. And there's a little piece of thread, so I'm just going to tuck it in with my nail, move it around a little bit, and you're ready to go. So this is your tail, and then this is your working thread, and you can keep going again for another big part. All right, so before I teach you how to add a clasp, are there any questions before we continue?
We did have one or two questions about what the end length that you're aiming to make your necklace might be.
That is an excellent question. So let me see if I can show you. I do have a little ruler here that is helping me. So this is the original necklace that is on the sign up page. And I know you can't see the full ruler. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Nope, that's it. So I'm laying it down all the way across. And this necklace measures exactly from clasp to jump ring. It measures 17 inches. But just the beadwork, so the snakeskin technique or the sun snake technique is exactly 16 and a half. And 16 is about a standard necklace. This necklace, it will fit like the one that I'm wearing today, but you can make them a lot longer. 18 inches is also very comfortable for people. I've made one for my fiance that is the longest necklace, and he loves it so much. So you can really experiment with however long you like it to be, but I would say sticking to about a 16 inch is, it's a standard length for a necklace. Do we have any other questions?
No more questions.
All right, so let's move on to the final step. So let's pretend that you're at this point and you've made your necklace and you love it so far and you can't wait to wear it. So you will have what looks like, this is where we started. So this is the original tail. It's all tucked in and all those bridges are already made. This is the side where you're going to be ending. So you can see that this is still kind of splitting apart. We need to end it the way that we did earlier. So we're going to do that real quick. All right. Let me thread the needle. I saw someone was commenting on the big eye needle, and yes, this is, thankfully, actually my assistant Abby told me about these. Like, I had known about these, but I wasn't using them for weaving, and I feel like they're so great for beginners because you don't really have to worry about threading all the time. It just works so nicely. All right, so we've got our hand position. We're holding our work like this, and we're going to go down this bead here to the left. So our mission right now is creating those little bridges, right? So we're going down through the left, going this way. I hope everyone can see. And then we're going to go back up to reinforce that bridge. Like so. Rotate our work. Go down. We're going to create another bridge over here. So we're going to go down this way. Under and up to the top this way. And that bridge is still not made, so we just need to go down. All right, so we're going to be adding a clasp, but our thread is still in the middle of these two beads. So let's go to the right and send it back up. Okay, and for this clasp, I'm going to be using a contrasting color. I sometimes like to use the same color of bead, but for today, because I really want you to see the difference, I'm going to be using these blue beads. So I'm going to pick up, regardless of the color, you're going to pick up 2 beads. And let me grab my jump ring and clasp. Before we actually add these, I do a little bit of prep work, not with the clasp, but with the jump ring. And this is where our pliers are going to come in really handy. Sometimes our jump rings can come with this gap. So we need to close that gap, because if not, our necklace will just fall off. So I'm going to hold on to one side of the jump ring with my flat nose pliers. I'm going to grab my other plier. This could be another set of flat nose pliers, or in this case, I'm using round nose, but you can use any pliers you like. And I'm going to grab the other side of the jump ring. So this is how I'm holding it. And I just want you to see, I'm going to push them together. Did you hear that little click sound? So that click sound means they're close enough together. I'm going to just adjust it a little. And now you can barely see that there is a gap between that jump ring. And that means it's really nicely closed. And we've prepared it for our necklace. All right, so where were we? We just added 2 beads to our necklace. And we're going to start with this lobster clasp first, because I find that to be the easiest one. So we're going to now add our clasp. And if you're doing this along with me today, you can actually unthread your needle and just use your tail thread to go through this with me. Okay, so then we're going to pick up another 2 blue beads. And usually we would go beside. Let me actually just zoom in a tiny little bit here. All right, so we've got our 2 beads, our clasp, and 2 more beads. Normally what we would do is go to the bead to the side. This time we're not going to do that. We're going to jump across diagonally and put our needle through that bead. I'm going to pull and see how that works. Isn't that cool? So now we want to reinforce that, because this part of our necklace is going to get a lot of friction, a lot of pulling. So we want to make sure we go through that twice. So I'm going to send my needle through my work, kind of zigzag through diagonal across my work, so I can end up on that other diagonal. I'm going to go up. Going to go up those beads. Then I'm going to go through that clasp. Then I'm going to go down the 2 blue beads and the pink bead that was part of the original work. All right. And now that's pretty well reinforced. You can do that another time if you're really rough on your necklaces, or if you're making this for, maybe a child that will pull on this a lot. you can go another round. But for now, I'm just going to tie it off. So we already know this part already. We're going to go put our needle through, find the skeleton threads like that. Let me give myself a little bit more thread here. All right, so we're going to send our needle through. We're going to wait for that loop. And we're going to put our needle through that loop 1, 2 times. So once and another time. We're going to pull, 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 and then hide our thread in between a few rows. I usually at least like to go down 3 rows of beads. Pull, and then we're ready to cut. All right. And check that out. We've got a beautiful clasp added. Isn't that fun? I love that technique. All right, let's see. We've got a couple minutes left. If we want it, I can answer some questions or I can do the other side. The jump ring is the exact same thing. We're still going to pick up 2 beads, pick up the jump ring, another 2 beads. But maybe we'll do some questions. We are almost at 5 o'clock here Central Time. So Maddie, do we have any questions?
Yes, we did have an interesting question from Sandy. She was curious if you had ever tried to make an infinite circle that doesn't have a seam. So you're not using the clasp, you're just making it one big circle. How would you go about doing that?
Yes, that is an excellent question. So a claspless necklace. I have done that before. I'm not, basically what you want to do is you want to basically, okay, let's say that, so let's take this necklace. We can actually do that right now. That's a really interesting question. So I've got this piece that I was working on earlier, right? Let's say this was one part of the necklace and this was the other, and we wanted to make it claspless, right? We want to attach these 2 together. Let's do that real quick. That is such a good question. I love that question. All right, so we're going to thread one side of our needle, or we're going to thread our needle. And basically what you want to do, I'm not going to tie it off completely, but I'm just going to show you the technique that you'll want to use. So you're going to go basically weave it back and forth. So this is where our thread is coming out of that side of our work. Pretend this is the other side of the necklace. We're just going to choose a side. We're going to put our needle through, and that's going to bring our necklace together like so. So we want to line it up. That's where our thread is coming out of. And then we just go back down that same piece, and we go down through that first part of the necklace here, that original necklace. And we just keep weaving in and out. You see how it's starting to attach? We just keep rotating up, around, bringing your needle in and out and in and out. And that's basically how you attach it together without a clasp. So technically, you do not need a clasp. If you make your necklace long enough, you can do this method of, just this simple attachment and have it kind of be like an infinity necklace for sure. And that is another stylistic, artistic choice that you can make. That is really, really, really cool. I think I put my needle in wrong here, but this is just the idea, right? And then just like we did before, once you're done rotating and attaching all of these together, you're just going to tie off the way that we did. So that's almost done. I just have one more row to do right here. Just make sure your tension is right. You could even go around another time just to make sure they're all really locked in. Tuck in all of your tails. make sure you put knots in like I showed you, and then that's how you would finish it off. And now that part has now been added to my necklace. Do we have any other questions?
We have a couple of them rolling in. Here's a question from Tracy. Would you want to use a stretchy thread for a child necklace?
I would not recommend a stretchy thread. Stretchy threads tend to be on the thicker side, and with bead weaving, which is what this is called, it's you need to go through beads several times. The stretchy thread is so thick you may only be able to go in once. So it really, I would say I would not recommend a stretchy thread. I would recommend basically using this 6-pound weight FIRELINE. It is going to be really strong. I'm not sure if there are any heavier ones, but if there are an even stronger than 6-pound weight, I recommend going that way instead of using a stretchy thread.
Well, we're not getting too many more questions. A lot of thank you for class. I learned several new techniques.
Awesome.
And I think if you'd like to go ahead and let us know where we can find you on social media if they're wanting to see more of you.
Of course. Yeah, I wanted to thank everyone. Thank you all so much. I've loved seeing your faces for those of you that are on camera. It's been so fun to have you here. Thank you to Michaels. Remember, you can, one thing, if you do make this project, or even if you've just started today, I would love, oh my gosh, Valerie, wonderful job. Yes, you can hold up your work right now, but also what I would love to see is if you do post it on social media, you can tag me if you want me to see it. My Instagram name is Lys, so that's LYS.artist, but I would also love it if you tag the Michaels team too, and then we could all see your work. You just need to use the hashtags Make It With Michaels or hashtag Michaels Classes, and that way we can all search that hashtag and look at your work and love your work and cheer you on. Also, I just wanted to say personally, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure, such an honor to share my gift, and I hope that this has brought you a lot of enjoyment today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for sharing your Saturday with me. And also, if you do want to find me online, I have an online shop. I have lots of jewelry available. I do commissions. My website, you found it on the overhead camera, but if you'd like to look at my shop, my website is Lys, L-Y-S, Santa Maria, that's my last name, SANTAMARIA.com. And that's where you can keep in touch. You can join my newsletter. I send monthly updates, and I will always be letting you know about any classes that I am teaching in the future. So thank you so much to Michaels. Thank you to everyone. And that's the end of our class. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you.